All right, we're live back on Instagram now too. Perfect, love it. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are on a Thursday afternoon in Central Illinois, and/or wherever you are. I know it's what is it? It's in the even early morning in Manila and in Sydney. And the reason I say that is because we are global, ladies and gentlemen. The sun never sets on our improving health for the world. So we're going to talk about a lot of things. There are going to be people coming on and off this afternoon. But we're going to be talking about metabolic health and some stories. And we're going to talk about how it is and how it's become and where the issues have become. And so I'd like to start out with a little bit of humor. And this might be your coffee cup. It may not be your coffee cup, but I just love the idea that, it kind of tells you what's going on, doesn't it? So we're going to talk about things like that. All righty, here we go. Hey, and there's John. Hello, my buddy.
George, I was cutting it closer.
You're great. How did the video go?
I just finished recording. I haven't done any editing or nothing yet.
Okay.
I can do that after.
Okay, I think there's a way. I've heard that we're not full screen for everybody. Have you heard anything about that at all?
I have not.
Okay, I didn't know if we are or not. So if I can find the way to make it full screen, I'll do that. Otherwise, I think we're just going to keep going with what we've got because I think our format's just been fine. So, but John and I are friends. We've met each other because of other mutual friends and because we've experienced what we're going to talk to you about. So we are not health professionals by any stretch of the imagination, but we know the system pretty well because we were on the tables and in the chairs and have had spoke with lots and lots of professionals. So we're going to talk about that kind of a thing. So here we go. Let's launch and get it going here. All right, let's go. All right. So
I'm just getting ready to stream it to Facebook real quick.
Okay, perfect. All righty, here we go. All right, so is there a need? The question will be, is there a need for what we're going to be talking about? So we're going to establish that because you want to know that you're not wasting time with us. And if there's a need, is the need increasing? And we absolutely know it is, but we'll show that to you. And is there a natural solution? Yes, there is. I mean, we already know you can get all the chemicals, drugs, prescriptions, whatever, pharmaceuticals you want. I mean, I've heard one time, John, that the world will never run out of ibuprofen.
And I'm starting to believe you on that one too.
There may be an egg shortage, but there'll never be an ibuprofen shortage. So, and is a solution proven, and so we're living proof that the solution works. But we're going to prove it to you scientifically and with clinical evidence and trials and that type of thing as well. Is there a guarantee? In other words, will it work for me? Well, yes, we don't know, but we're going to say the company believes it will. In fact, they put their money where their mouth is.
And everybody that's done it so far has great results. I haven't seen anybody yet that hasn't great results unless they didn't open the box.
If they didn't open the box, even people that are doing it backwards.
Right.
I mean, doing it backwards. So it's
right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So it's dumb simple, guys. So we're going to talk about this right here. There's the number one problem in the world. It's not just in America, guys. It's the world. But means most of your worlds run in about a 50-mile radius. America, 93% of the issue. And once you guys understand it and you start looking around, you can't unsee this. You can't unsee it. You if you went to any Memorial Day weekend festivities, if you had a family reunion, a class reunion, if you went to Walmart or Target or a store, you saw this. You cannot unsee this. And Americans are metabolically unhealthy. And with that, what we know is that the leading causes of death, guys, are all preventable. We've got cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, strokes, high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney disease. These things are all we can interfere, we can intervene, we can reverse them as long as we do it quick enough and with enough intent without having to do the pharmaceutical route. But the pharmaceutical route, you're going to learn from both John and I, from our experience, is all it does is mask whatever the symptom is. And we're going to talk about that. John, anything you'd like to add on this little slide?
At the moment, I do not, because I'm trying to share this to Peak Performance.
Okay, I'll let you work on that.
I'm not sure which slide you're on, so I'll get you on the next one, brother.
Okay, so we're just going to repeat. Is there a need? Well, we just established that. There is a need, right? There is a need. And the need is metabolically. And what we want to do, John and our intent and our organization's intent is that we want you to live a long lifetime, a healthy long time. We don't want you to run out of health before you run out of life. I mean, if you look at the people right down here, these girls are the same age. The same age. And one is what? Walkers and with the tennis balls on them and all of that kind of stuff. How we get there, I don't know. But if it's metabolically, that could have been reversed. And on the right, we've taken care of our health because you only get one body. You get one turn around the planet and you get one body. And if you don't take care of it, where else are you going to live? So you want you to have the health at the end of the lifetime. We don't want you to run out of health and still have another 10, 20, 30 years in a rough spot. Does that make sense? I hope so. Because food is not the same anymore. Now, I'm talking about, I'm going to talk about food, give you a little history, because I'm 73, so I get to talk a little bit more about the past. And the whole idea, guys, is that I've seen, and I've had 2 lifetimes with food. When I was a kid, beef was beef. We didn't have no such thing as what? Grass-fed beef. Well, beef's beef. Pork, Wagyu, yeah, you go. Eggs. We didn't have pasteurized eggs, and we didn't have grain-fed eggs and free-range eggs and home-on-the-range eggs. We just had eggs. And milk, man, we got this way. John got his milk in a bottle.
It was a glass bottle or a plastic jug, most likely plastic jug, but yeah.
Most likely. So things have changed. Would you agree with that? And if you think about it now, too, just think about when you see pictures of people my age older, right? 70s, 80s, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, boy, there wasn't anybody who had a gravity challenge like we see now. We see kids, we had a conversation this morning about a young man, a young child, 11 years old, that was over 200 pounds. Having heart issues, can't breathe. Mom is totally
that was yesterday, actually. We heard about that yesterday.
It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Very heartbreaking.
That was
what's hard about it is the mother was asking the doctor for help, and the doctor wasn't willing to help him. That's the sad part about it.
Yep, it wasn't inside of his profit range.
Right.
So he's going to send him to another specialist, enologist. Yeah. My father was a doctor.
More testing.
Yeah, my father was a doctor. I was on house calls with my dad. I was entertainment in the front yard or the front room while Dad was doing the work. He was an OBGYN, but he was a practitioner. He was a physician. You just did that kind of thing. And so, guys, do you think that my parents, my grandparents, were better at counting calories? Were better at carbohydrate loading? Were better at going to the gym? Not even close. There wasn't such a thing, was there? So during your lifetime, John's lifetime and everybody else, the second half of my lifetime, we have become the victims of these changes. And these changes are not for our well-being. They are for the well-being of companies, shareholders, profit.
Yeah, so that's like my oldest son, George. My oldest son, Tyrell. Great kid, love him to death. And he's getting into bodybuilding, right? So he's telling me, hey, Dad, if you come back with me, we can get you back where you used to be. I'll get you some pre-workout, some branched chain amino acids. He's spitting off all this stuff. And I just look at him with a dumb look on my face. And he's like, what, you don't know what they are? I says, oh, I know what they are. But the thing is when I was powerlifting and bodybuilding back when I was your age, those didn't exist. And I was still doing the same amount of weight and building just the same amount of muscle that you are without those.
Right.
You can't tell me you need those to do this. So
yeah, they are programmed into synthetics. And guys, I can't even tell you how sad that is. And people don't really truly realize it. They just don't realize it. So Correct. Food is not food. And in fact, when you start looking at some of these things, the fiber was taken out of our food decades ago. Now, if they take something out, they're going to put something else in. Well, they took out the fiber. Now, fiber is satiating. Fiber, God made plants. And every plant he made for us to eat is wrapped in fiber. That should tell you the formula is fiber first. But if profits first, the fiber goes.
Well, just take rice as an example. If they left the bran and all that on there, you wouldn't eat nowhere, like not even a handful, because it would fill you up so fast.
Yes. And exactly. And here's interesting. I will say this, and I dare you to prove me wrong, that feedlot cattle eat better than you feed your children in terms of fiber, because they get fiber. And then there's a thing called steamed corn flakes. That's exactly what they're called. Now, if I put steamed corn flakes over here and your corn flakes over here, you'll have a hard time telling the difference. And you wonder why you're getting fatter or larger or whatever word you want to use that doesn't make you feel like you're being body shamed. And we're not doing that. It's just that we're getting larger. Do you want to do something about it? That's really the question. And so when we start looking at the difference, and now we took out the fiber, so it increases the shelf life, we start putting in starches, which turn to sugar faster than sugar. I know it sounds silly.
The main number one starch is modified cornstarch. And believe it or not, it don't taste sweet to the tongue, but it's sweeter to your body than sugar is.
Exactly. And just think about this. Look at the size of chickens. If you buy chicken if you go to Costco or Sam's, or you go find a roasted chicken at the grocery store, you're looking at something. You are always looking for the biggest bowling ball because you buy it by weight.
Right.
Now they are growing that size in half the time. Think about that. How they do it? Well, they're feeding the corn and the grains. That's the same thing that you're feeding yourself and the kids. In fact, that's the same thing you're feeding your cats and your dogs. How fat are your neighbors' dogs and cats? Good gravy. Good gravy. And they have gotten that way. They never were that way when I was a kid. No. But they are like that now because you are feeding and overfeeding them. You're giving them grains. Guys, I'm trying to keep it simple, but that's how this went. And then we went to oils. So we took fiber out to have the shelf life go up. Okay. Then what happened is they found cottonseed oil. Now, cottonseed oil is a byproduct of obviously cotton, but it was a toxic waste. But they needed to find Americans the profiteers, so we found something to do it for. So we use it for machinery, lubrication, and then it was also used for candles. They were not for candles, but for our fuel because we ran out of whale blubber. We needed some kind of oil. Well, there's two guys that came along from England, Scotland, Ireland. I'll get the names exactly right where they came from, but they were named Procter & Gamble. Now, Procter & Gamble was a candlestick maker and a soap maker. I mean, that's kind of like a nursery rhyme kind of thing, isn't it? Well, they came to America independently, and they met independently, two sisters. in Cincinnati. And those two guys, Procter and Gamble, became partners because of their sisters. Now, what happened was is they combined needs because they needed products, they needed raw materials, and there was a hydrolyzation process that had been created. Hydrolyzation is taking hydrogen and being able to put it into a liquid to solidify it. Now, back in the day, grandparents, my parents, we had butter, we had lard, we had ghee, we had tallow, animal byproducts. Now, this, which was a hydrolyzed oil, had a larger shelf life than the natural oils.
Yep.
And now what they did is they took that product, which your grandmothers used, I'm sure, and grandparents, and it was in a can, and it was white, and it had a blue label on it, and it was called Crisco. Crisco. And that is like boot slider to the max. So they took that to the American Heart Association. They said, hey, what do you guys think of this? Oh, by the way, here's $1.7 million. Now what do you think about it? And came out of there, it's heart healthy.
Right.
Now you know the rest of the story. But now it has a longer shelf life. So guess what? That demonizes fat. That demonizes lard. That demonizes butter. Why? For profit and shelf life. You see how this comes along? What the trend's going to be here?
If people would look into it, you would see in the mid 70s or early 70s, one of the two, I can't remember exactly which year, that's when like diabetes and heart disease and all these chronic illnesses we have now started increasing and shooting up 7-10 times fold, if not more. I mean, I bet you it's more than that, but the sad part is there's too many lobbyists out there putting money in to favor things. A whole nother subject, but that's the problem. That is the problem. Greed.
And in that timeline, John, exactly. And that timeline is 1973, 1974, when high fructose corn syrup came out.
Right.
Now, for you guys, y'all think it's been around forever because it has been. It's your forever lifetime. I remember when it wasn't here. And so the idea is that when that came out, now we have dementia and Alzheimer's and type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease. And we're going to go into more, but these are the guys that control this. And one of these things these people are really good at is advertising and chemically engineering things to be highly palpable so that you're addicted. Think about it. You're addicted. I mean, John, we were talking and laughing about it, but those corn curls, you know, the cheese curls.
Cheetos.
Yeah, the Cheeto type. You know, you go buy a bag at the convenience store.
With the puffy ones?
Yeah, the puffy ones. And I looked at it and I asked you guys, if you look at it and you see those little bags and it says 3 servings in a 2 of 7
in a little bag.
Have you ever seen someone, well, that's my 2 for now. I'm going to roll the bag up and I'll come back. No, they're gone before you get out the store.
Just like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Exactly. And the other thing, these guys, how good are they at advertising and brainwashing you and propaganda? What is the number one most important meal of the day?
Breakfast.
Breakfast. And that was framed for you by Kellogg's.
Kellogg's, yep.
To sell more cereal. Now, true, break fast, that's a very important meal. Correct. But it doesn't mean
doesn't have to be at 6-7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, in a bowl with more sugar, high fructose corn syrup, more corn flakes, or bagels and things that have corn starch and those types of flours, if you are. Did you guys know that in Europe, one of the sandwich stores that you know, one of the sandwich stores, you know, they are actually taxed as
sugar
because there's no bread.
Because there's more sugar than there is bread.
Exactly. So they're being taxed properly. Think about that.
That is one of today's chains that everybody thinks is healthy for you.
Yeah. Yeah, because we slice our meats free, or we slice things fresh.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
At Subway, if you're watching and wondering.
Exactly. So we know that when these guys get us to start, right? They get us to start, and the next profiteers is right over here.
Oh, yeah.
These guys are just waiting for these guys to get enough in there so that they get to play.
Yums. They can give you the yums for all the promises, for all the problems that you're getting because of the way the food environment is.
Exactly. And so now we're trapped in this vicious cycle.
And that's the thing, is like, that's one thing I hear a lot from people now is, why don't you just go to the grocery store and eat healthy? Well, the thing you don't realize is, yeah, you can go to the store and get your vegetables and get your healthy foods, but they're so bioengineered today. They're not the same like they were 30 years or even 10 years ago. That's the reason why we're trying to get out here and let you guys know about this information, so you can make a better decision on your diet and which you consume.
And how good these guys are at what they do.
They're very good.
Is that these guys have these shots now and these pills that they're getting everybody to take and do that deal with your GLP-1, which your body produces on its own.
I've heard a rumor that the food companies are now working on making food palpable to the point it triggers your body to do like a synthetic GLP-1 too, or something like that.
Yeah, they're now engineered because the pharmaceutical guys have created this. The food company said, okay, we're going to engineer it to bypass the GLP-1, to mute it out. Right. They're not just going to sit and let their profits go down because you decided to buy less and eat less. No. And when was the last time you saw someone get a big old can of cheese balls, open it up, and take 2 and close the lid? Never.
Never.
And not only that, they take 1 or 2, and then they start eating it by the handful. And by golly, they'd use a fork, but that's too slow because it only stabs like 2 at a time.
Right. I remember being a kid and just dumping in and got all the orange powder on my face and all that. So
exactly. So there's that. So have we proved that there is a growing issue? I believe without reservation. And what's behind it, we see. So the thing about it that we want to say, okay, so there's that, and it doesn't say that you're lazy or you're undisciplined or you have no self-control or any of that. It's that you're fighting a battle against the world. You're Correct. Fighting a battle against advertising. I mean, if you have children, you go to the store, mommy, 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 right? And it's all at their eye level. Where's the good stuff? It's way up there. Way up there. Now, John can reach that stuff because he's like 9 foot tall. I'm about 5'8". I got a chance to get there, but probably not. But it's all down here. All down here. And you can tell if you go into a supermarket, you can tell if they have a high population of youth versus a high population of older citizens.
Just by looking at the shelf.
Just by looking at the shelf. So what's that telling you? Well, it's telling you that there's things that are happening, and your skin is one of the fastest places to know if you're developing what we call insulin resistance that we'll talk about. And that's, your hair may start falling out. You get brain fog, floaters, you get skin tags, armpits, elbows, crotch, dark patches. Yeah, dark patches on your skin, belly fat, right? You start your belly starts looking like a Volkswagen standing on its end, right? I mean, come on,
a lot of people call that a beer belly, George.
Oh, beer belly, okay. and you're always thirsty, or you're always snacking, you're always eating, you're going to the bathroom all the time. You're never full. even when you've eaten and took and pounded enough down, you're still nibbling, snacking. Yeah.
You're constantly drinking water because you're constantly running to the bathroom, urinating. So you got back to constantly drinking water. I mean, it's a vicious cycle. I mean, it never stops.
And you get sleep apnea. You get up in the night and and you're never satisfied. You're always hungry. So you've been told to keep your metabolic.
And if you can sleep, you don't sleep long because you end up waking up because the sugar in your brain helps with insomnia.
Exactly. It's just, guys, those are just simple signs of what we're talking about, which is insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is the root cause of things like diabetes, high blood pressure. These are the things that can kill you. I mean, skin tags aren't going to kill you, but the other stuff can. Mood swings, neuropathy, where your feet are dumb and numb and your hands can be dumb and numb. You don't know that you're holding onto something. PCOS, abnormal cycles, infertility, acne, ED. I mean,
you name it. You name it. I bet you we can figure out a way to link it to insulin resistance.
Exactly. And so what we're talking about is these are all symptoms. If you that spring up here in Central Illinois, and it's dandelion season, all right, and they're a weed. But you know what? If you told your kids or grandkids, and I got great grandkids, but if you told them to go out and pick dandelions, you want to get them out, they're going to take the tops off. They're going to grab these things out. They may not get them all, but have they taken care of the plant? Have they killed the root cause? No, because it's going to continue to grow, just like the stuff in your body. I mean, your body has everything going on all the time. And if you don't take care of the root cause, you're going to continue growing these things. Now, some of the things like diabetes, type 2 diabetes, can take 15 or 20 years before it actually shows up. High blood pressure may take 10 or 15. But we have children under the age of 8 that have non-fatty livers, that have obesity and high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes.
It's just like with the 11-year-old that we heard about yesterday coming into that place at like 240 something pounds. 11-year-olds at 240 something pounds. You know they're going to have high triglycerides. You know they're going to have high blood pressure. You know they got non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. You know they're going to have all these other symptoms just by looking at the weight of the child. Exactly. But the thing is a lot of parents, my kids don't like sugar. It's not sugar sugar's the culprit, yes, but not as much as the culprit as people think it is.
Exactly.
A lot of it too is carbohydrates, because a lot of people don't understand the way the body operates. You only got 3 macronutrients. You got carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And then that's the only macronutrients you have. And your body converts it all into glucose for energy. And I knew, as being a type 2 diabetic myself, I knew that carbs and sugar got converted the most, and really quick. And that's why you had the sugar spikes and then the crashes. I knew that, being a diabetic. What I didn't understand was the proteins and fats getting converted into glucose. Because what they always told me was, have your complex carbs, because your complex carbs do a gradual increase of your sugar, not spike like your refined or simple carbs or whatever. I didn't realize that proteins and fats do that too. So when I started looking at carnivore, just eating straight protein, and I was eating a lot of protein every 2-3 hours because you're told to eat that often to keep your metabolism up, not realizing that that's all I was doing was still keeping my glucose spiked and keeping my insulin high. I'm just making my diabetes worse because I couldn't get that down. So that's why you find people like us on here talking about this. We're trying to get the awareness out there so you can be informed. That way you know what's going on and you can make the better decision that you want to do for you or for your loved one and get their health back on track, or keep doing what you're doing, and we'll pray for you.
Yeah, because we want to get to the root cause.
Yep.
Because if you don't get to the root cause, this just keeps going and going and going. And then you get the yum-yums and the other kinds of stuff, and you get to be with them, and you are a profit machine until you're not with us.
All you are to them is a cha-ching, cha-ching.
So insulin resistance, guys, these are some of the diseases that you get treatments for. I mean, do you know anybody that's got heart disease? Alzheimer's, diabetes, low testosterone, PCOS, fatty liver, sarcopenia, that's muscle wasting, migraines, osteoporosis. Any of these guys? Do you know anybody that has any of that?
I could think about 90% of America.
Yep. And so when you have those symptoms, these are all things that come out of insulin resistance. And some of you have never heard the word before.
With me being a diabetic for 25 years, the only time I heard about insulin resistance is when my body was supposedly resistant to the insulin I was injecting, not to the insulin I was producing, to the injected insulin that I was taking. That's the only time I heard insulin resistance. And even then, that was only roughly 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago when I heard that. So I've already been dealing with the disease for 20 years by that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And isn't that funny? They don't tell us about things that just look like each other. It's just like salt's been demonized. Salt's been demonized, right? And if you have a cardiovascular event and you get picked up with the wheels and the sirens, right? And they put you on a stretcher. And what do they give you? What do they give you?
That's what they give you. They give you salt.
Yeah, they give you salt. And if it's not enough, they put 2 bags in.
Yeah, 2 bags in. Yeah, 2 IV bags. Because that's what a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people know that IVs are saline, a salt saline solution. Yeah. They know that, but they don't put the correlation together that you need the salt. I mean, maybe the salt is what's keeping your blood pressure where it needs to be, keeping your heart the way it needs to be. Like magnesium. Magnesium is great for helping with your circulatory and keeping muscles relaxed and all that. But if you're insulin resistant, your body don't use that supplement or that mineral the way it needs to.
Exactly. So, guys, we're going to give you some free information and give you some free possibilities of how you can take care of this just on yourself, because you have the knowledge and we've given you enough to be able to do it. But we're going to tell you the thing is that I coined the phrase yesterday. It's really simple. Just F off. Fast, fiber, fats, and the order of food. And so the thing is the easiest thing to do is that, think about it this way. Your body needs to rest, right? Would you all agree that your body needs to rest? Of course it does. And when you do rest, and you go to bed or a hammock or whatever you do, and you go to sleep, and hopefully you get at least a good amount of sleep, but most of you don't. But if you did get to sleep, while you're sleeping, you're not eating. And if you're not eating, your body is taking all that sugar and goofiness of all those 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 meals that you had. Yeah. Because anytime you put something in your mouth, it is a meal. Your body doesn't know that you're not at the Golden Corral. All it knows is that here comes some more.
Well, it's amazing how many people message me. Well, how many snacks are we allowed to eat? None. I mean, if you think about it.
Or what's a good snack?
Yeah, what is a healthy snack?
Because what's a healthy snack?
This is trail mix. It's got this and it's got this. Yeah, well, trail mix back in the day was probably considered good, but now it's got so many sugars and added fillers. It's a candy bar. It's an overglorified candy bar in disguise. I mean,
yeah, it's brought to you by your favorite breakfast food cereal, right? Yeah.
Right. But like one lady I've been talking to, I mean, bless her heart. I mean, she was just like how I was. She thought she knew she was being healthy. She's doing what the doctors and the dietitians, nutritionists told them to do, not realizing what they were telling her to eat is actually just as bad.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, you think, okay, this has got like almonds in it. Almonds are actually very good for you. But the thing is it's not a snack. Even if you have 5 almonds just to snack on real quick, it's your body takes it. It's a meal.
Yep. The body takes
what your body is. And then another thing too is like people like, well, I can have, Coke Zero or I can have diet because there's no sugar. No, I'm sorry to tell you. Same thing with your body. Your body don't know the difference. So it's going to treat it as a meal. That's the reason why people today have an average of 11 to 12 meals a day. They may not physically have food that much time, but the way the drinks are today, between your energy drinks, soda pop, all that coffee, any extra additives, they go to Starbucks in general.
Juices.
Yeah, you go to Starbucks, and even though you try to get their plain water, I'm sure there's some type of sugar in their water. So it's that's the reason why we're having 10 to 11, 12 meals a day.
Exactly.
Your body doesn't know the difference. It just, your taste buds sense those certain type of key chemicals or components, whatever they're called. I'm not the scientific guy, so I couldn't tell you the exact scientific term, but your taste buds taste that, and it sends the signals to your brain, and your brain just treats it, oh, we're getting food. So it starts doing what it needs to do. So like if you're getting food, it's going to start sending signals to the pancreas to produce insulin, because everything you consume gets converted into glucose, and glucose you got to have 4 grams of sugar in your bloodstream at all times to operate the way it needs to be. In all reality, 4 grams ain't that much.
No, and right on cue outside my window was the ice cream truck going by with the bells and the clowns and whatever.
Don't tell them I sent them, George. I mean, because I am a nice man.
But guys, one of the things we want to talk about is what you need to do. Again, I'll give you some free advice, is that you need to let your body rest. You need to let it rest. Now, when you were sleeping, you were fasting. You were fasting. And it takes almost all night for your body to get the blood glucose down into the muscles, as long as they're taking it, because eventually they run out of room because you've been overloading them. Your liver can't take anymore. Your fat cells can't take anymore. And now you just, everywhere's getting fat. And then you just start peeing like a racehorse, trying to get it out of there. We're trying to get it out of there. But if you can, and what our protocol, we advise people, we want you to do, is to fast as long as you can. Now, for some of you guys, I can't fast. You think it's punishment. Well, yeah. What we have is we use a drink, a natural drink, and it allows us to satiate ourselves. It allows us to continue to delay that break fast until sometime towards noon, afternoon. Sometimes you have to be reminded to eat, but we get to go through that. And the longer we go, the more our body is eating its own fat. It's using ketosis. It's using ketones. Now, the longer we do that, the better chance you have at increasing your metabolic health, making it better. And then when we eat our largest meal, or maybe even 2 meals, if we have 2 meals, we may drink a fiber. We'll use a fiber. It's a special fiber. And again, its patent has 4 patents. But what it does is, remember, they took the fiber out. We're helping you put the fiber in. We need fiber for our gut, for our biome, for a gazillion different things. So our protocol, using what we do, is 2 teas and a fiber. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's very simple. But the big thing for free is the longer you can delay, the longer you can continue the fast, because you were fasting. So don't tell me you can't fast, because you just fasted for the entire time you were asleep. You can fast a little bit longer, and every little bit longer that you do is in your benefit. Now, I know that hunger always wins.
Yep.
Hunger always wins. And you can't argue that, because if you've been on any kind of whack-a-mole diet, what it ever is, and you're on these restrictions and none of this and none of that, and eventually you give up to hunger, because the mind says, no, we're done. Time out. We're bored. No. Eat. And then you binge.
I was that way at first, because like before finding this protocol, when I had to do my 3-month blood check work for my A1Cs, they wanted me to do a 12-hour fasted blood check. And by the time I hit 10 hours, I was really hangry, really hungry, really this. And I struggled. I don't know how many times my glucose I felt like it was dropping. Because when you're elevated like that, that ends up being your new norm. You get used to being that high, and it starts dropping down. And yeah, it may not be where you want to be in the normal range, but because you're so used to being high, your body thinks you're crashing, and it's just the way it is. And I can never do that before doing this. Now I'm doing the protocol. Heck, I'm getting ready to start a 5-day fast here shortly. Oh, cool. And my longest so far has been 90 hours. And during that time frame, doing that and just sipping on my teas, taking the fiber, make sure my gut health gets the right food it needs. And, I'm thriving. I feel like I'm run a marathon, like, because of the energy I got, and pain's gone and all that, So I wish I would have known this 20 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that the way? Isn't that the way? So, guys, we've established that there's a need. We established there's a solution, but now you need to prove it to me, right? Just how do you know? I've bought this pill and that pill, and these guys said this, and I said that, and blah 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 blah, right? Well, my cousin Vinny, he said this. Okay, fine. Well, how about if we use some other people like the Cleveland Clinic, the #1 heart hospital in the world? How about we use the University of Sydney, where this is the home of the glycemic index? How about we look at Health Canada as a research? How about we look at BYU? How about we look at UNL? All of these guys and more. So let's see what they do. Well, first off, let's go to an entirely different place. Now, because you could say, well, the tests and the trials, they could be, bought and paid for, like every pharmaceutical. Well, never. I'll be quiet. But let's go to the PDR.
This ain't the FDA.
Yeah, the PDR.net. Now, this is what we have. It has every possibility of thing you could take, and its ramifications, implications, its counteractions. Okay, if there's what we call a black box warning. Now, it's in the book, it says box warning. I always add black box in front of it, because black box, you take that medication, that box warning means you could end up in the black box, which is your last box. But I double dog dare you, if you are taking any of those shots, if you are taking any kind of a blood pressure medicine or diabetic medication or anything like that, I dare you to look up every one of your medications, look at the side effects, the potential side effects, and I'll leave it at that. Because when we look up our protocol, if you want to, we'll tell you what it is later. If you want to look it up, you'll find that we have 18 products in the PDR, more than any other company, and none of them have any negative side effects. None, zero, nothing, no counterreactions. So let's look at it from a cardiovascular situation, which is the #1 reason for death in the world is cardiovascular disease. With our protocol, the Cleveland Clinic, the #1 heart hospital in the world, said such a product, if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need and or dose for lipid-lowering prescriptions. Boom. Look at your statin. Look at anything you're taking. I double dog dare you. That's my favorite thing. I double dog dare you, because you can't back down from a double dog dare you.
Triple dog.
Yeah, exactly. And then let's look at this. How about we do this? Let's just try to, for the engineers out there that try to make everything break. I mean, that's what engineers are trained to figure out how things will fail. That's what they're trained to do. So let's look at this. Using the continuous glucose monitor, the things that measure your blood sugar all the time. On this test, what they did was they gave the subjects 2 Eggo waffles, 2 tablespoons of syrup, and 10 ounces of orange juice. Now, John, you were a diabetic. I been a diabetic, but not 20 years. I mean, I'm a in and out diabetic. I think that would probably should have been called. I'm an extreme periodic diabetic, I guess. But if you had an issue, they gave you what? Orange
sugar, orange juice, apple juice.
Yeah, because there's no fiber in there. So we pounded these people with 420 calories, 89 carbs, 51 sugars, and just to see what we could do to them. And our protocol lowered the glucose response by 43%. Metformin can do no more than 30.
25 to 30%.
Yeah. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt by saying 30.
Plus, metformin's got 3 pages worth of side effects in PDR.
Yeah.
So between the 3 pages worth of different drugs that metformin's in.
And the other thing that we take, so we're talking about the fiber. Now this is our tea. Now our tea, I'm going to real quick in this. It's a special blend. It's patented yerba mate tea. It's 375 times more potent than just normal. And it's not that, I have to make my English right. It's not the stuff that you get in convenience stores in the tall cans with all the ingredients and whatnot.
Right.
And so this is patented. Our leaves are handpicked and processed. It's a patented process. So we have 5 patents on this. And one of the things it does, and this is out of BYU, is that increases your GLP-1.
The Unimonte's got 1 patent, and the
one patent. Fiber has 4. Yeah. And so it increases our GLP-1 naturally by 60%, which is almost double what those synthetics are doing and causing gastrointestinal issues, pancreas issues,
osteoporosis, and other type of cancers,
pancreatitis, and a whole bunch of things. So I just wanted to show, and this is what John was talking about earlier. He was talking about the different levels of spikes. I talked about it a little bit differently too. I said the F off. The whole thing is that we do fast, then fiber and fats, and really at the end of the day, this is a non-necessary spike. But think about this. These are nice and low and slow, and that gives you the ability to nicely move along with your blood glucose.
See that graph there, George?
Yeah.
Did you go back real quick?
Yeah.
See, a lot of people know about how the carbohydrate spike can come down, okay? Now, when I was a diabetic and I got told how to eat and all that, they told me, eat whole wheat pasta, whole wheat toast, all the diabetic friendly stuff. It should gradually increase, like what you see there with the proteins and the blue line and the green line, which is your fats. That's what they told me. Not realizing that those products they told me are actually like the carbohydrates. They spike it and you crash. The reason I learned that was because when I got my CGM a few years ago, started doing that. My continuous glucose monitor, wonderful device. If you're diabetic, get one of those because it will show you what your levels are constantly all day long, no matter what time of day, when you're sleeping or not. And if it detects a trend, it'll wake you up or whatever, and alert you that there's a trend if you're dropping or shooting high too. But the thing is I eat a diabetic friendly food that they tell us it's good for diabetics. And next thing I know, my glucose is up 200 points. And you're like, wait a minute, I ate something that's supposed to be diabetic friendly, and it turns out that it's really not. And that's what got me started on the rabbit hole towards all this and what led me to what I do now. But the thing is like a lot of people think they're being healthy. You think you don't have the health issues, but I promise you, you do. It just takes a long time to see it to the point that you have a diagnosis. So go ahead, George.
Perfect. Thanks, Shannon. So then we're looking at, again, where did this come out of? It was originally created by Rexall. Now we have 5 patents on here. So nobody else can make this. Nobody else can do it. And we manufacture our own products. We have our own fields. We have 5 manufacturing facilities. We have 2 laboratories doing research. Every batch is tested. It's independently tested by the NSF. And we have patents. Nobody else can have that. We have 24 clinical studies. I can drown you information of that, but all we can show you, the more important is that the proof is in the pudding. We're going to show you that. It's safe. It's natural. It's food. At the end of the day, this is food. Food got us into this mess. Food will get us out. The idea of this is to fix this.
So this is the fiber packet that George is talking about. The reason I still do this is because, for one, it's the best source of fiber I can find that I can get. I can go to the store and get equivalent, yes, but the thing is, the fiber you buy from the store may not have as much nutritional value that this does, and who knows what other pesticides or herbicides are in it, because you don't know if what got sprayed with by what farm, and they don't test them like these are tested, like George said. These are NSF certified, which means it's clinically tested by a third-party source. It's not in-house. It's not that. It's by a third-party vendor. That's their job, is to test for herbicides, pesticides, mold, mildew, all that.
And it's not just an occasional once in time. It's every batch.
Every batch.
Every batch. And it's guaranteed. Guys, this has a 90-day money-back guarantee. Give me one thing that you've ever been given from anybody that had a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you go to the gym, do they give you a 90-day money-back guarantee that you're going to do this, that, and the other? If they give you a pill And they say, well, is this going to take care of it and reverse it in 90 days? No, they give you a 90-day supply, so you don't have to go back to the pharmacy every month.
Can you go to the pharmacist and say, hey, if this is making me upset or anything like that, can I bring it back and get a refund? No.
Nope. Not at all. So this is a 90-day money back guarantee, and I'm kind of a skeptical guy. I mean, I'm a goofball.
I was hardcore skeptical about it. I was like, "There's no way. This sounds too good to be true. There's no way."
I had day 88 marked on my calendar because a lot of times if I buy one,
89.
a lot of times you get those subscriptions, you cancel in 30 days. I always blow by those, but this. Right. I go like, no, I had day 88. No, I'm way past day 88 now. But guys, it's guaranteed. The company's, because it's provable by your own blood work. And so there we are. But the company gives you a 90-day money back guarantee. It's cost neutral. And what we mean by that is that you are going to, at worst, break even. And I'll show you exactly what we mean right here. Is that because you're going to fast, generally, you're going to not have 3 meals in a day, but you may have 2. So let's say you skip 1 whole meal. Give me that as a benefit. And then because we don't snack, how much do you spend a day on snacks, candy bars, and M&Ms and fruits and football lattes and energy drinks and chips and ice cream and nuts and all the snack foods? When I was a kid, there wasn't such a thing as a snack aisle. No. That's a self-made profit area. Go to a convenience store and you've got a wall of liquids in cans. Then you have one wall with nuts and all kinds of other oil-fed bags of stuff. And then you come on the other side and there's a whole wall of what? Candy bars. And then there's a whole nother wall in that aisle of another bunch of combos of this, that, and the other that we couldn't fit in the wall over there. And then at the counter, there's a whole nother group of what? Snacks. Good gritty. Don't tell me you don't snack. If you are beyond beatification because everybody eats that. But back
to lying to yourself.
Exactly. Here we are. So you skip 1 meal. I don't know what you can pay for breakfast, but I know you can't get it for under 5.
I know before doing this, me and my wife, because we used to commute together to where we worked in the other county over, and we would leave and hit Chick-fil-A on the way out every day. I would get 2 chicken scrambled bowls. She would grab a couple of the chicken biscuits and a large Dr. Pepper. Between that, just those alone, between me and her every day was about $20 a day.
And so, then you had snacks between lunch and dinner.
And with me out there transporting people around, going, and if I'm taking somebody to prison, I drop them off at prison, on the way back, I'm by myself, so I can stop and get what I need. So I'm like, I'm swinging in here and grab, I need a drink, need this. And there's another $5, there's another $6, there's another, you don't think about the cost. Like you're just like, oh, this is whatever, I'm hungry, I'm this. And so, but then if you actually jot it down and look at how much you spend, you'll be like, holy crap. Like before doing this, me and my wife, we probably spent for the whole family, it was probably close to $1,800 a month that we would spend for food, snacks, drinks, just that alone, And then started doing this because it's so cost neutral like it is, and we're saving money by skipping that meal, and we're not eating the junk food and the snacks no more. I mean, we saved a good probably $800-900 a month, if not more.
And you've improved your health.
And and improve my health. And it's like I said, when I first put the connection together and start putting this together, literally my mind was blown, because how can this be so simple and be actually honestly what it really says it is? Because you hear so many horror stories about this does this, this does this, this does that. You do it and you don't get the results. You don't get that. But the thing is everybody I've talked to with this are getting the results that they were seeking. It may not be right away like some people, but some people, if they're consistent and they stick to it, by the time that 90 days comes around, they're seeing the results they want. And then finding out the reason that's happening is because their metabolic health is so far gone. This targets your metabolic health from the inside. So it starts in your gut first, gets your gut aligned, and then it goes out, branches from there. That's the reason why some people can do it in 30 days. Some people can do it in 60 or 90 days. And there's actually been a couple people that had to go a little past 90 days, but they stuck to it because they saw their blood work improve. They knew if their blood work was improving, their body was improving too.
And so is there a need? I think we've already established that. I think it's irrefutable. Is the need increasing? Yes. Our children are in a worse situation than we were.
Yeah, our children today are the first generation to have a shorter lifespan than we do.
Think about that for a second. That's
terrible. That's not a thing you want to hand down to your. That's not a great inheritance. Here you go.
Yeah,
you live long enough to.
Yeah. And so, is there a solution? Yes. Is it a natural solution? Is it proven? There's a guaranteed? Yes. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over here, and John, if you would just give your little of your story about how. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're just joining in, if you know who I am, you know I'm John. My good friend George, I met her through this protocol, and this protocol is a really great family. But my story was, I was a type 2 diabetic, got diagnosed when I was 21 years of age. That's probably my X-ray you just saw there when I was 21, to tell you the truth, because I was pretty big. But I got diagnosed at 21 with diabetes. At that time, just right out of high school, right into college. I played high school football as a power lifter in high school, went right into powerlifting professionally for the local circuit there. And then I went into college football, doing college football. Back then it was like, you got to be a 300-pound lineman, because that was back in the day when you're a good lineman, it's your 300 pounds. They didn't care how you were 300 pounds. You just got to be 300 pounds. And so, I'm constantly stuffing my face with whatever I can get to get up to that goal weight for football, not realizing what it is doing to my metabolic health. So, I keep eating like that. I'm eating on the average of 10 to 15,000 calories a day, training, playing ball, doing that. And then I start not training as much because I start focusing more on the school work. And then it gets to the point where I can't afford to go back to college, but I'm still used to eating that way, but I quit training because I'm not in school. Then, me and my wife at that time were just dating. We get a little more serious with our relationship, decided to get married. At our wedding, it was when I was the heaviest of my whole life. I was 450 pounds around there at that time. And in this picture there with me in black, I'm probably about 320. That was about 2 years ago at my son's graduation. I just got off work, and so I don't have all my uniform on. I just have my undershirt from my uniform. But in that picture, though, 320, 330 pounds roughly. In the blue there, I'm at 238 pounds. So, and that is a big time difference in the pictures. But the thing is, when I started the protocol, I was at 320 pounds. And the picture there on the left, it was like September of last year when my daughter just graduated from basic training up at what's that one in Lawton, Oklahoma, Fort Sill. She was just at Fort Sill Station, and we went up there for the graduation for that. And that was that in that time. So that was September of last year. The picture there on the right there of me in the red, that was probably a month before. The blue one just slide before that. And that one there, I'm 200 and probably 42, 43 pounds. That one, 238. So yeah, this protocol, you will lose weight once you get your metabolic health back in track. But the reason I got to this, like I was saying, was training the way I was, eating the way I was, not realizing what it does to your metabolic health. Well, eating all that crap, not staying active, not realizing what it does. Well, of course, I developed diabetes, type 2 diabetes. When I got it, my doctor at the time, just my regular PCP doctor, he told me it was because of genetics. It was because my dad's side of the family had it, my mom's side of the family had it, so we got it. Well, at that time, the only person on my dad's side of the family that had diabetes was my grandfather. But my grandfather, he passed away in 1988 because of complication of diabetes. And he ended up having cardiovascular disease had a massive widowmaker heart attack because of it. Unfortunately, right there in the hospital, and he's getting his medications for it. Now, on my mom's side, the only person at that time that had diabetes was my grandmother, and my grandmother's still alive today. She's like I think she just had her 90th birthday last month. But she actually figured out how to control her diabetes and reversed it before I even came across this protocol, and she's doing amazing by herself with it. But my mom, though, she was never a diabetic. And my mom's now on this protocol because she started developing pre-diabetes. And when I got on the protocol, found out, I talked to her about it because she was a pre-diabetic. She's now reversed that. She doesn't have that any problem, but she was also on the GLP-1 shots and all that. But the thing is, like we were told, it's genetic. If it's genetic, that means if my grandmother or my grandfather had it, that means my mom and my dad should have had it. And then that's how I got it. But the thing is, neither one of my parents were diagnosed with it. Now, my dad, he passed away in 2023 from pancreatic cancer. He was never diagnosed diabetic, but yet he got pancreatic cancer, ended up having the Whipple procedure. There's a gentleman in this business with us in this group. His name is Ross. He had the Whipple procedure a while ago too, and he was been able to reverse all his diabetes and everything because of this protocol. So anyways, when you get that diagnosis, they feed you these pills and these shots and all this kind of stuff. And once you're trying to do what they say, all you're doing is you're managing the disease. You're not getting down to the root cause of it. So that's the reason why I struggled for 25 years. It's because I did what the doctor said. Take these pills, take these shots, eat these foods, do these exercise, eat less, exercise more. I did all that. And to no avail, 25 years later, and this is the outcome. I just slowly got worse and worse and worse until I came across this protocol. Now, when I came across this, I was dealing with my second foot ulcer when I came across it. If anybody doesn't know about the diabetic foot ulcers or what the complications you get from it, it's because of the neuropathy you get from taking certain medications. Neuropathy is part of the side effects from them. I didn't know that either. But it's also, I was always told it's because of the nerve damage or it's because of you're just basically lazy. But it's not the way it is. It's a side effect. It's a side effect from the diabetes medications. And it was because my blood pressure before doing this was 212/120 on average. So they wanted to put me on a statin. Luckily, I never took the statins because that was right before I came across this protocol. But the thing is, I had very high blood pressure for a long time. So I don't know how I never had a heart attack or got a stroke or even been diagnosed with hypertension stage 2 or whatever it is. But the thing is now 5 months into this protocol, my blood pressure is now stabilized to 139/74, what it was the other day. So yeah, 139 on the systolic side is still a little high, but I'll take that over the 212 any day. But the thing is it's improving every day. I haven't checked it in a couple of days, so it could be better now, or it could be the same. I don't know. That's the beauty about blood pressure. You can check it in the morning, be great. You can check it in the afternoon, and all of a sudden you're high, or you can check it in the evening, and then you're back to normal again. So it's one of those touchy subjects. It's hard to really dial that in because it fluctuates so much. But if I knew what I knew now 20 years ago, this would never have happened. And that's why you see us on here talking about that. It's because we're here to spread information. And a lot of people, I get a lot of flack from people saying, why don't you listen to doctors? Why don't you listen to dietitians or nutritionists or even personal trainers like that? The thing is I've took this to my endocrinologist and I've talked to them about it. They told me, yeah, it sounds like it might be a good thing to try. Try it and we'll see in July. And we'll see what your numbers are and we'll go from there. Well, it's June 5th today. I got another month until I see my endocrinologist. If I was going to go back and see my endocrinologist, then why did they call me a month ago and cancel my appointment and tell me not to come back? Because I wonder if they did their research on this and found out what it is and like, oh, he ain't going to need to come back. Now, they told me it was because the lady I saw is no longer working there, which that could be true too. It could be. I don't know, but I don't know the doctor personally that well, so I don't know what their personal life is. They could have moved on. And if they did, bless them. But the thing is I've talked to a lot of doctors who have been on that side, prescribing pills, shots, and all that, trying to find other ways besides what they are taught in med school, because that's the curriculum. Is to you diagnose it with this, to find out this is a problem, you diagnose this, and you give them a pill for a pharmaceutical to take care of it. And a lot of doctors know that it doesn't improve it; it just helps ease the management of it, and maybe it will just work itself out, because that's the only way you can do it with today's standard medical care. None of it truly cures or improves the symptoms. It just makes it worse, in my opinion. Now, a lot of doctors who come across this sees what it does. I mean, we have endocrinologists, we have surgeons, we have nurse practitioners, we have a pediatric doctor, we have pediatric nurses, we have a lot of medical personnel, dietitians even. I mean, one lady in here you can basically call her a rocket scientist who is doing this. She left her corporate job of a very well income because she's here helping save people's lives. For the other job before, she was taking people's lives because she was for the DOD. So, everybody knows the Department of Defense. If you're an engineer, you're making weapons, you're making bombs, you're making stuff that causes destruction. You're not saving lives. So, but she left that field because she saw how this can really save people and get people's health back where they need to be and save lives. Like myself included, I know for a fact, if I would never came across this, I most likely would have been 6 feet in the ground 3 months ago. I was very close to being septic, and I couldn't see it, because that's what the brain fog does to you. That's what the disease does, is it blocks it makes it so you can't see what's really going on with you. And then if somebody tries, like a family member tries to talk to you about it, you don't process it the right way, and you take it as they're attacking you, or that they're jumping on you. Why don't you take better health? Why don't you do this? In all reality, they're just asking a question. They're trying to see where you're coming from and what you're thinking about. There's the lady in here, I just saw a slide a minute ago. It was Sue. And Sue was, same thing with her. She was just trying to do what she could, manage this, manage that. But what she didn't know, right there she was. What she didn't know about was her daughter was going behind her back and secretly trying to find a nursing home to place her in, because her daughter couldn't handle what she turned into, or couldn't handle seeing what she has turned into. And if you take this picture here, that child on the left and the child on the front, right in front of Sue there smiling, it's the same child. If I remember right, it's only 6 months apart or 5 months apart or something like that. And if you look at Sue, there's a big difference in the way she appears. So then I don't recall directly if she was a diabetic, but I know she had some autoimmune diseases and some other problems. And that's the beauty, is like, I like to think that this could possibly improve type 1 diabetics to the point they could be cured. Now, I can't say that on a medical point. I can't say that because I'm not, first of all, not a doctor. I'm not that. But the thing is type 1 is an autoimmune disease. And this protocol will reverse 90% of your autoimmune diseases. I would love to sit there and say that the type 1 falls in that category. And I'm a big believer that if you do it long enough, there's a good chance it might. But the thing is I don't know if anybody's been on it long enough as a type 1 to see if it does. I know Vicky, who's on this, when she first started doing the protocol, she relied on her insulin pump so much that she had to use insulin. And she was using like 60 something units a day before she ate, all day long, because of her insulin pump. And I remember right, she had to use so much insulin, it was ridiculous. But now she's been on it for, I think, 3 months now, George. Is that
about 3, yeah.
And she cut her insulin usage by almost 80%. And that's a type 1 diabetic who has to have insulin in order to live, because their pancreas don't produce insulin. But the thing is the autoimmune disease that they have is attacking the pancreas to the point that it don't produce insulin. So is it permanent damage? It could be. We don't know for sure yet. And I'm sure somebody out there knows that answer, but If they do, they haven't released it, or they have and they've been shushed because a lot of people don't want this information out, because if they did, there's a $4 to $6 trillion market that's going to take a huge hit. So, I mean, it's mind-boggling. It really is mind-boggling to me, just because I know growing up, I was taught with my religious faith and all that to treat people how you want to be treated. So that to me means you want them to be nice to you, you be nice to them. But the thing is how is this, if you know this information, how is it being nice to somebody else if you're not letting them know about this information? I mean, I suffered with 25 years when I could have done something about it like this 25 years ago and never had the problems. I mean, there'd be a lot of people alive today still if this information would have got out and people would have known. Like my wife's grandmother, she was a type 2 diabetic who passed away from complications of diabetes. I want to say 2003, so 22 years ago. If we would have known about this then, I promise you she would have been on this, because she was tired of poking herself with needles, tired of pricking her fingers. She was tired of doing all that. I mean, I know I was by the time I came across this. That's why I got the CGM. I was so thankful when I got that CGM. I no longer had to prick my finger. So if yourself or your family member is suffering from diabetes, pre-diabetes, I mean, any one, you name autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's, IBS, Crohn's, celiac, Lyme's disease. I mean, we got testimonies of all of those where people have taken this product and it has reversed it. Now, granted, type 1 has not been completely reversed, but it does make it a lot more manageable, a lot more easier to handle. But I bet if you do it long enough, there's a good chance small chance it could reverse it.
Exactly. So to summarize our day here in just a couple minutes, number one, we're dealing with the root cause. This is to deal with the root cause. Remember my dandelion picture a while ago? So this insulin resistance directly. We're not looking at little raindrops on different symptoms. We're looking to reverse the core root. We're looking to get rid of that, which is the cause, not just the symptoms. And we're looking at its better insulin action. We're looking to create that insulin sensitivity. And it's no longer a masking fire alarm. And what our joke is that if your house is on fire and the alarm is going, and you ask the pharmaceutical company, what should we do? It's driving me insane. They said, well, just turn it off. So you turn off the sound. Does the house still burns, doesn't it? But you just mask the symptom of that fire. And so we want to make sure we get to the root cause and get it put out. So from a patient, if you look at yourself, if you're taking any pharmaceutical, or if your family members are taking any kind of pharmaceuticals, they are taking meds because they're broken, and you're going to take this forever. Name one diabetic, name one person with high blood pressure or coronary disease, or name it, that they get off of those. They progressively get worse. We end up reversing this. John's story and our testimonies we've just seen. So the Feel Great system is to restore the function, not mask things over, and create confidence that you can do this. So this is food. It's an assistant. It's an aid. Okay, it's an aid to make this stuff work, to combat the food noise. And so it's a lifestyle change. And you guys have tried this and tried that and the other, but this promotes and makes it sustainable. It's sustainable. How hard is it? John Scott, who we just saw a while ago, was a former NFL player for 10 years, said this is dumb simple. It's just dumb simple.
Dumb easy.
And a drink, right?
And he says dumb easy.
Yeah, dumb easy. So it encourages you got to get the fiber, which has been gone. We're helping you get it back in there. We're helping you hold your hunger down. And so it's natural craving control, simple daily structure, very simple. You don't have to do any great, silly changes. So it's going to work with your biology, not against it. We can prove that in the PDR.net. And sensitivity, insulin sensitivity. And again, one of the things that people hear, they hear insulin and think, oh, but I'm not diabetic. No, insulin is in your body. You're using it every second that you are alive.
Number one king hormone.
And it's there. So we want to make sure it works. We want to make sure it works. And it helps regulate your appetite and your mood. It balances the hormones. And so why it works is because it's a natural, it's effective, it treats the root cause. It's real change. It's adaptable. I mean, like I say, the protocol, we have an idea how we do it. We got people doing it backwards. The only people that it doesn't work for is people that have never opened the box. So it's simple, simple, simple. And so is there a need? Yes. Is there a need increasing? Yes. Is there a solution? Yes. Is it natural? Yes. Is it proven? Yes. Is there a guarantee? Yes. And is it affordable? Yes. So the question is, if you'd like to learn more, get a hold of John. He's right there. Get a hold of me. Get a hold of, come back and talk to us again, because we'll be out here. We're on TikTok. We're in that kind of thing. The guys are trying to educate you. The one thing is that food got you in this mess. Food will get you out. You've been on your lifetime journey to be where you're at today. We know that we can help you provably in 90 days. Consider a 90-day trial, because the worst that could happen is you get all your money back. That's the worst that could happen. Absolute worst. So it's guaranteed to work. You get your money back. That's the worst thing that could happen. We encourage you to consider joining us and getting your results. We love having success stories. We get them every day, every day. So, John, I want to thank you. We'll be back together again shortly, I'm sure. And it was a good day today, and we'll be back again. Anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, brother. I think we're good on that one, brother.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you then.